Okay. Hi, Shauna. Welcome.
Good morning.
Okay. So I'm not going to use a playlist for today just because I'm just worried about YouTube not allowing the video be on board. But if you want a playlist, you're welcome to, I can post one in the chat if you have Spotify, so you can use this one. Or you can also, actually, sorry, I'll give you the link to it. That'll make it a little bit better. Or you can also use an Apple Music playlist or just put in your favorite kind of chill songs. Yeah, I'll post playlists on Spotify. I don't have Apple Music, but you're welcome to always find some there. I just wanted to make sure that these are accessible afterwards. I don't have to reteach the class. Unfortunately, the fun thing about copy music, right? Okay, so whenever you're ready, you kind of have your playlist set up. You can just start in Supine Butterfly. Time. Relax. Okay, so for those of you joining, we're just going to start. You can come grab her. We're going to start in Supine Butterfly. So you can bring the soles of your feet together, knees will splay out to the sides, and then just lay down on your back. Okay. So you can allow your hands to land over top of your heart, or you can allow your hands to land overhead or down by your side. And just start to become aware of the movement of your breath. And start to carve out a little space for you to begin your day. And so if there's anything from yesterday that felt a little chaotic, you can even just take the time now to perhaps leave that at the edge of your mat for this practice. And start to step into the space of this day before the world really starts moving. And reminding yourself that you've taken this time to be with whatever you need this morning. So this practice is going to look a little bit different for everyone. And setting an intention is a really great way to begin. And today's intention is really just an answer to the question of what brought you to your mat this morning? Why did you show up today? And perhaps why have you continually shown up in your practice? You don't have to further define that. You don't have to come up with reasons or excuses of why that is your intention. Just trust that whatever brought you to your mat today, that is real and that is enough. Take a deep breath in through your nose, fill all the way up. And then exhale out through your mouth, just gently let that go. Inhale, breath through your nose, fill up. And exhale, release. Let's take one more breath, just like that. Feel the lightness of the inhale. And the heaviness of the exhale. Bring your hands to the outer edges of your knees and help to pick your knees up away from the floor. One at a time, bring both knees into your chest. Hands come onto your knees or your shins. And then start to create circles. So you're drawing your knees away from your body, over to the right or the left, and then back into center. Thighs glue together. So this is a nice gentle massage for your lower back. You can make these circles as big or as little as you'd like. And then the next time your knees come through center, just switch directions. You might notice a difference or it might just feel the same. But either way, just becoming aware of the sensations in your lower back and the creases of your hips. The next time that your knees come back through center, pause. Keep your right knee in towards your body. Interlace your hands either on top of your shin or behind your hamstring and begin to extend your left heel up towards the ceiling. Activate your left leg by flexing your foot. So pull your toes towards your shin and then activate your core. Slowly lower your left heel towards the earth, all the while extending your left heel away from you. Like you're going longer and longer through your body. Okay, once your left heel rests onto the floor, draw your right knee towards your right armpit, wind relieving pose. Now, I always enjoy a little bit of movement, so if you do want some movement, you're welcome to draw your right knee over to the left and right, creating this little side-to-side movement. This can feel like a nice awakening for the hip, but if you're craving stillness, if you found a space that just feels exactly where you need to be, just pause there at any point. Become aware of your breath rising up, feeling your belly press in towards your inner thigh. And then exhale, falling away from the ceiling, hollowing out. Bring your right knee back through center. Slide your left heel up so your left foot plants on the ground. You can even slide your left heel in a little bit closer than you normally would, and then cross your right ankle over top of your left thigh. You're going to come into a little bit of movement. If this doesn't feel okay for the lower back, you're welcome to just pause here and try drawing your right knee further forward. Otherwise, take your hands down beside you, palms face down. You can even slide your left heel a little bit closer in so your left fingertips can brush the back of your heel. And taking a couple of little bridge lifts. So as you inhale, press into the sole of your left foot, lift your hips up, squeeze your glutes, and then exhale, slowly lower back down. Now let's take 3 more of those. Inhale, breath, lift up, and then exhale, lower back down. 2 more, inhale to rise. Follow your breath, exhale, grounds you. 1 more time, inhale, lift up, and exhale, lower down. Keep the cross of your legs as they are, and then figure 4 twist, slowly lower your knees over to the left. So your right foot will plant onto the ground. Optional, you can always add in a bind. Left hand can reach for your right foot, ankle, or shin, which just gives you a little bit more stability. If this twist doesn't feel good for you today, you're welcome to just allow your right knee to flop out to the side, or you can stack your legs, right leg over left, instead of staying in the figure 4. Gaze can fall opposite way of your knees, taking this twist into the cervical spine. If you want to find a little bit more depth into that right hip, imagine that you're rolling your right hip bone towards the earth, lessening that gap between your body and your mat. Notice the different sensations that are happening within different areas of your body. And then see if you can also become aware of the rhythm of your breath. Breath follows you throughout your practice and can always be an anchor, just like your intention to come back to. On your next inhale breath, gently begin to lift your knees back up through center. Untangle your legs, plant your feet wide, and wash your knees to the left and to the right. Now you might feel most of the release into that right hip, and that's okay. Just notice how sensation fades as soon as we start to move ourselves into a new place. So we're never stuck somewhere, knowing that there will always be a transition or a pose that will move those sensations around. The next time that your knees come up through center, once again, bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a giant squeeze. Optional to roll your forehead and lift it up towards your knees. And then you could release it back down if you did lift up. Winter leaving pose on the other side. Hands collect your left knee or shin. Right heel extends to the ceiling. Without any rush or urgency, take your time to lower your right heel to the earth, all the while extending through your right hip to lengthen through the front of that leg. Once you've landed in winter leaving, you can always gather your left knee more to the side of your rib cage. Optional to add in that movement of taking your knee over to the left and over to the right, if that felt good on the other side. Otherwise, you can always come into the traditional pose of just being in stillness. And really starting off this practice with the idea that there's no right or wrong way to move your body. But this is your yoga practice, and you have an internal guide that you can definitely listen to instead of myself. I am really just a guide to bring you through this practice, but truthfully, you also have one that tells you how much you need, how long, how far. So listen to that guide first, and then to me second. Always, always, always honoring your body. Figure 4 bridge lifts. Slide your right heel in, a little bit closer than maybe normal. Left ankle crosses your right thigh. You can check in with your right heel. If your right fingertips can brush the back of your heel, it's probably in a pretty good place for this lift. Inhale, breath, press into your hands, press into the sole of your right foot and lift your hips up. Exhale, slowly lower down. If this doesn't feel good, just stay here for 3 more breaths. Otherwise, continue to lift up with your inhales, and exhales will lower you to your mat. Take 2 more. Really taking care to sit with your breath, to give your breath a little bit more attention. And then on your exhale, you can gently twist over to the right. Left foot will now plant onto your mat. Right hand can wrap your left foot if that felt okay on the other side. Or you can always just plant the foot or even allow the knee to come closer towards the earth. Find a comfortable space for you to land in the variation of twist that you've chosen. Can you slow your practice down for just a moment before we start to move a little bit more? Embrace the space you are being given to start your day, and also just to simply start your practice. On your next inhale breath, unwind back up through center. One final pose on our back. Untangle your legs and take your knees into your chest, happy baby. Separate your knees to the sides of your rib cage. Hands can come onto your shins, or you can float your heels up to the ceiling and reach hands for inside or outside edges of your feet. I always love happy baby as an opportunity to explore, to just create some movement in the legs. Good opportunity to notice where there's tension overlapping with your body, where you feel a lot of space, just really getting to know oneself. And ultimately, you are the person that you spend the majority of your day with. This is the body that you spend all of your time in. So it's probably a good practice to become aware of what it feels like to be in this physical shell. If you need a little bit longer here, you're welcome to take that. Otherwise, you can gently release the grip of your feet. Take your knees into your chest, hands behind your knees. Now, if this feels like a lot for your lower back, just simply roll to either side and press up to tabletop. Otherwise, you can start to rock and roll along your spine. It can be a nice massage out. Again, this isn't always for everyone, so if not, just bring yourself up through to tabletop. Okay, once you've landed into tabletop, just pausing here, begin to separate your fingertips wide to create a solid foundation for your practice. We're going to find some rippling through the spine. Option, you can tuck your toes or you can leave them down. I like to tuck the toes in this variation. Knees are hip-width distance apart. Walk your hands back towards your knees, sitting your hips onto your heels. If this is too much for your heels, stack your hips over your knees, hands to your low back, and just lift up through the heart. You can take this with hips on heels, or to take this a little further, you can reach back with your fingertips. Okay, so just finding the level that feels okay for you today and the depth that matches what your body is telling you. And we're going to find a flow. So start to walk your hands forward, plant them either in front or beside your knees. Press up into your hips to the sky, and just straighten out your legs until you come to a soft bend belly onto your thighs. So you're not quite in a full forward fold. It's almost like you're in a modified down dog, a really shortened down dog. Okay, let's flow between those. Exhale, breath will lower you to the ground. So pick up your heels, bring your knees to your mat. Inhale, breath. Either stack your shoulders over your hips and lean back, or walk your hands behind you and lift your heart. Exhale, breath. Walk your hands forward to a rooted position with hands planted. And inhale to your fold. Exhale, lower down, knees to your mat. Inhale, breath to open up the front line of your body, quads, hip flexors, even chest. And then exhale, walk your hands forward and plant. Inhale, breath, rise your hips up, begin to lengthen out the back of your body. So let's take 3 more of those on your own time. Exhales will bring you down and rooted. Inhales are where we start to stretch out both the front and the back lines of the body. Don't be afraid to tip your head back, open your throat. Just really root through all 10 fingertips. Start to notice how this feels as you just move through some of the stickiness of your morning. Giving your body this time to really get into this so you don't ever have to go to a full depth. That movement is more important than any finish line. That it really is about the journey of shifting your body in a way that is nourishing and that feels good. So you're going to take about 1 more. And then the next time that you land into your fold, we'll come into a full forward fold. So instead of having your hands walked out in front of you, once you've lifted your hips to the ceiling, take the weight into your heels. You can just walk your hands back towards your toes. You can either drape your body or you can reach for opposite elbow. It might feel nice to sway side to side. Let your head hang heavy. Again, just letting any worries, tension, anything that is not yours to hold, just drip off of your spine. And then gently from your forward fold, start to walk your hands forward and meet into your downward facing dog. Okay, if you're unsure of how long you should step out your downward facing dog, make your way to a high plank and then shift your hips up and back to downward facing dog. So it's a pretty good length for most people to come to high plank and then lift your hips up and back. Okay, you can pedal out your feet, start to pick up one heel at a time. Maybe you dip your shoulders one at a time. Notice how this feels in your body. Okay. Beautiful. And then from your downward facing dog, let's actually meet into a child's pose. So you can just start to lower your knees to your mat. You can lower your knees wide, take your big toes together to touch, and then sit your hips back towards your heels. You really focus on taking the weight back in this pose. So rather than having your fingertips reach forward, allow your weight to shift more back. You can even keep a soft bend into your elbows, a slight rounding of your lower or your lumbar spine. Imagine that your hips and your heels are magnetized towards one another. And with each exhale breath, they're drawing closer and closer. All right. Now this is one of my favorite movements for the hips, but you may need blocks for this pose. So you're gonna stay in the same orientation as child's pose. I'm just gonna show you a little bit different. If you are using the blocks, you can just reach for them coming up through tabletop and bring them back beside your hips. Okay. From child's pose, keep your knees wide, big toes to touch, and start to walk your hands in. So you're once again sitting your shoulders over your hips and hips onto your heels. Wide-legged I find a little bit better for the knees. And then plant your left hand beside your left hip. So this is where you can plant it on a block if this feels hard to reach the ground. On an inhale breath, take your right fingertips, sweep them forward in front of you, and then over to the left, begin to lift your hips away from your mat. So you're essentially creating this shape with your body. As you exhale, come back through center, plant your right hand beside your right hip or even back behind you. Lift your hips away from your heels. Now coming all the way back with hips to heels doesn't feel good. Just keep them a little bit more lifted and then you can send them forward. So they don't always have to fully go back if that's a lot for your knees. You're just gonna start to create a flow with your body. Each time that you come into this movement, you might find that you have a little bit more space to reach over. Make sure that you're squeezing your glutes, sending them forward. And imagine that this repetitive movement, it's almost like a rinse of your body. That each time you come into this shape, you're lessening a little bit of the tension that you are gathering in any of these muscles or areas. It's almost like you're wringing out tension, stress, anything you don't need for the rest of your day. Let's take one more to each side. Or if you need an extra one to finish off sides, that's perfectly okay. And then the next time that you come back through center, walk your fingertips forward and lift up into your tabletop. Okay, finding a different flow of your spine. Tuck your toes under, press into your hands. Keep your spine long and send your hips towards your heels. So you're gonna begin to slide your shoulders in line with your arms, in line with your hips, flat back. Inhale, breath, straighten out your legs and then melt your heels down. All right, hovering tabletop, ripple forward, bend your knees to lower towards the ground. Send your hips back towards your heels and straighten out your legs. Okay, let's do this a couple more times. Inhale, shift forward like you're coming to tabletop, but just hover your knees. Send your hips back, exhale, bending your knees, and then straighten your legs. Inhale, ripple forward to a hovering tabletop, and then exhale, send your hips back and then up. All right, meeting into your downward facing dog, lower your heels down. Walk your big toes together to touch. Inhale, breath, rise your right heel high. Bend into your right knee, stack into your hip. Start to draw some circles with your right knee. Sign it beside your left, forward and out to the side. You know, you can make these circles really, really little, or you can make them really big, just making sure you keep that stability in your upper body. Take one more circle in this direction. Peel the side body open, and then as you exhale, step your right foot through your hands. Lower your back knee down. Monkey lunge. As you inhale, rise tall, reach your arms up, press into your front foot, lift out of your left hip. As you exhale, bend your elbows to cactus and then sink into your left hip. We're gonna do this a couple more times. Inhale, press into your front foot, Shift the weight back, creating more of that 90-degree angle with the legs. Exhale, sink forward, left hip lowers to the top of your mat. One more time, inhale, press into the ground to rise taller, arms straighten. Exhale, bend your elbows and send your left hip forward. Inhale, breath, reach your arms all the way up. And then exhale, release your hands to your mat. Tuck your back toes to lift your back knee. And then step your left foot about a third of the way up your mat for pyramid. So you're straightening out both legs. Feet are hip width distance apart. So make sure they're not on a tightrope, otherwise you'll have trouble balancing. That your feet are about hip or shoulder width distance. Back toes can always turn slightly out to the left, or back heel can lift. Okay, fold for a moment over top of your front knee, tuck your chin to your chest, relax the back of your neck. On an inhale breath, begin to lengthen your spine. Shift the weight forward into your front leg. Walk your hands about a foot in front of your right toes. Pick up your left heel. So you're coming to an L-shaped pose. This is a really great place to grab a block or to grab a water bottle, something to place your hands on to lift your upper body in line with your hips and your leg. Feel the sensation, maybe some of the fiery energy of discipline of holding here into that right hip. Hold for one more breath. And then as you exhale, crisscross your left leg behind your right. So your inner thighs squeeze together. You can keep quite a bit of space. So you don't need your pinky toes right next to one another. You can keep them a little bit further. And then lengthen through your spine, like you're drawing your collarbones towards the top of your mat. Optional to keep your upper body square, or you can walk your hands over towards the right side of your mat and bend slightly into your front knee to get into that left hip. Gently begin to walk yourself back through center if you took that twist. Okay, this is going to sound a little bit different. Turn 180 degrees. So you're going to be facing the back of your mat. So just pick up your heels, pivot onto your feet, step your feet wide so that you're going to be in a wide fold. Turn your toes out, heels in, and then sink your hips down for a yogi squat. Now, if a yogi squat this low doesn't feel good for your body, you can always take it with forearms onto your thighs and hips lifted with a flat back. Or you can take your blocks and you can always scoop them underneath for you to sit on. Let's add in a little bit of movement in your yogi squat. Walk your left fingertips out. As you inhale, reach your right arm up, twist open. As you exhale, come back through center. Right fingertips walk out in front of your right toes. Inhale, reach your left fingertips up to the sky. Press your outer edge of your right arm into your inner thigh. And exhale, come back through center. Okay, just one more to each side. Inhale, breath. Reach your right hand up. And exhale, release your right hand down. Okay, one more time. Inhale, left fingertips graze skywards. Exhale, left hand reaches back down. Press into your hands, pick up your hips, straightening out your legs. Turn your toes so that your feet are parallel and you will be facing the back of your mat. You take an inhale breath, halfway lift and lengthen. And exhale to fold. One more time, inhale breath, halfway lift and lengthen. And exhale to fold. If you want your blocks or you find them useful, grab one of your blocks and just walk it forward with you. You can just take it to the top of your mat, knee into your high plank for a moment, and then lower your knees down and lower all the way to your mat. Bend your heels in towards your body. Take your hands to wrap the outer edges of your feet. And we're not actually coming into your boat pose, but just simply creating a variation of this where you get a deeper stretch into the quads. If this isn't available, you can always grab a towel or a strap and wrap it behind your foot and then just hold onto the edges of that towel or strap. Okay, just pause here, either cheek to your mat. Allow your heels to draw in towards your glutes. You can always bend your elbows if you want a deeper stretch. Soften into the muscles of your back body. Feel your belly press into the floor as you breathe in, and exhale as you breathe out. And one more time, just like that. Gently, you can release the grip of your feet. Allow your feet to float down towards the ground. Press your hands underneath your shoulders. Lift up through tabletop. And just for a second, send your hips back to your heels for a child's pose. Take one full breath in and one long breath out. Peel forward, meaning back to your tabletop. Walk your knees underneath your hips. Tuck your toes under. Let's go through that flow 2 times. So float your knees off your mat. You're in hovering tabletop. Take a full breath in. And then exhale, send your hips back towards your heels and then straighten out your legs. Inhale, shift forward, hovering tabletop. Exhale, shift hips back, bend your knees, and then lift up. Inhale, shift forward, hovering tabletop. And then exhale brings you to your downward facing dog. Big toes come together to touch. Now listen, this is a little bit different. Inhale, breath, draw your right heel high to the sky. Bend your right knee, stack your hip. As you exhale, step your right foot to the outside of your right hand. So you have a wider stance. Okay, I'm gonna turn myself so that you can see this variation. Pick up your front toes and turn and pivot them to the side of your mat as you roll to the pinky side edge of your left foot. If this feels a little awkward on the knee, you can always take your right foot more into the middle of your mat. Optional, both hands stay down, or your right fingertips reach over to the short edge of your mat. So you're creating this long line through the side of your body. All right, adding in a bit of movement, take a full breath in. As you exhale, lower your left hip down. If your right hand is lifted, take your right hand towards your left foot. Okay, inhale, breath. Lift your hips up. Draw in a rainbow arc with your right hand if it's lifted. Exhale, lower your hips down. Okay, if you have both hands down, you'll do the same movement with your hips. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, hips lower. Let's take that one more time. Inhale, breath, lift your hips up. And exhale, your hips lower to a hover. This time, inhale, lift your hips up, release your right hand down, turn and pivot your toes to the front, and then continue to turn and pivot your toes all the way to the long edge of your mat. So you should come into a wide-legged forward fold, all the way over to the left. Beautiful. Skandasana, bend into your left knee and lengthen out your right leg. Your right foot can stay planted if your hips stay high, or if your hips begin to drop lower, right toes can peel up, right heel presses into your mat. Okay. Now you can play with ballads if you're looking for a little more strength. Left hand to your heart, right hand to your heart. You can play with folding, taking your body forward and draping, or you can come into that twist similar to what you found in yogi squat. Right hand up, left fingertips forward. Optional to play with binds. You're here for a few breaths to just release out any tension into your right glute or the side of your hip. Beautiful. And then from wherever you are, take one more breath. Release your hands down. You're going to turn and pivot to the top of your mat again. Press into your hands, pick up your hips, turn and pivot all the way forward. So your left foot is now in front. Lower your right knee down. As you inhale, guide your fingertips all the way up. This should feel like a nice stretch out for that right hip. And then exhale, release your hands down. 3-legged dog. Press into your hands, lift your back knee. Left foot will slide back behind you. Bend into your left knee, stack into your hip, and start to create those little circles. So left knee draws beside your right, out to the side and up. You can make these as big or little as you'd like. Just creating some space and movement into this left hip. Okay.
Beautiful. The next time that you come up through center, peel the side body open. And then as you exhale, step your left foot between your hands. Meet back into your monkey lunge. So right knee will come down. Inhale, breath, reach your arms up. Fingertips over shoulders. Okay, finding that same movement. So, excuse me, ooh, pepper spray. Inhale, press into your front foot, lift up, lengthen the body. As you exhale, cactus your arms, sink your right hip forward this time. Inhale, breath, lift up, lengthen the body. And then exhale, sink your right hip forward. Okay, 2 more just like that. Inhale, press into your left foot to shift back. Exhale, send your right hip forward. Last one, inhale, lift up. And exhale, sink forward. Okay. This time as you lift up, take an inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to frame your front foot. Tuck your back toes to lift your back knee. Pyramid pose, step your right foot about 1/3 of the way up your mat. So you have a shorter distance. I always like to think about halfway that you're stepping with your feet, almost like a walking distance. And just fold your body over top of your front leg. If you want more sensation, guide your inner thighs towards one another, like they're magnetized and trying to touch. Right hip would draw forward, left hip draws back. Relax into the back of your neck. Okay. Looking forward, walk your hands about 1 foot in front of your left toes, optional to use a block. Shift the weight into your front leg and pick up your back heel. So you're coming to that L-shaped pose. Now you can lengthen out the spine to create a little bit more stability. Pull your belly button up towards the ceiling to engage your core. Flex into your right foot to engage the muscles onto your back leg. 1 more full breath in. And then as you exhale, crisscross your legs. So your right foot will cross behind your left. Okay. Allow your body to drape over top of your legs. Hands can always stay onto your block. Optional, you can walk your fingertips over to the top left corner of your mat. Still think about creating length through the spine, drawing your collarbones towards the earth rather than collarbones towards your shin. Okay. Yogi squat 1 more time, so a little bit of a different transition. Walk your hands back through center if you're twisted. Pick up your heels and start to pivot yourself to face the back of your mat. And then you'll step your right foot back in line with your left. Turn your toes out, heels turn in, and sink your hips down. Okay, so it should feel a little bit more balanced this time. I'm gonna leave the variation up to each of you. So I kind of like to find some movement. You can pick up 1 heel at a time, shift side to side. You can pause in stillness. If you want to play with arm variations, you could always throw a crow in. So really this is just a moment to pause, to feel the opening of your hips, maybe the lift of your spine, or some of you might fold and drape forward. So wherever you are, just take 3 breaths for yourself. All right. Gently, you can place your hands back down onto your mat if they were anywhere else. And then start to pick up your hips, straightening out your legs. Feel a little bit different this time. Pick up your toes, turn them parallel. Take a deep bend into your knees. Okay. Take your left forearm onto your bent left thigh. As you inhale, twist open to the right. Straighten out your right leg, bend deeper into your left. So you're coming into a shape kind of like this. Right hand can stay on your hip or can reach all the way up. And then as you exhale, bend into both knees. Take your right forearm onto your bent right leg, and then start to straighten out the left and twist open to the other side. It should feel like a nice rinse out of the body. Let's take 2 more to each side. Exhale, breath, bend both knees, left forearm to thigh. Inhale, twist open the other side. Exhale, come back through center, right forearm onto the thigh. Inhale, twist open to the left. You take 1 more to each side, just with your own breath. Slowing this down. And once you finish out those last two movements, you can gently release to a fold. Inhale, breath, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale to fold. Knee into your downward facing dog. Walk your fingertips forward. You can either come from a high plank or just meet to your down dog right away. Your big toes come together to touch. Inhale, breath, left heel rises high to the sky. Bend your left knee, stack your hips. As you exhale, left foot steps outside of your left hand. And then modified plank variation, pick up your left toes and turn and pivot to the left side of your mat so that you're on the pinky side edge of your right foot like you were in a side plank, and your left foot is a modification. Optional, take your left foot more into the middle of your mat. Hands can stay rooted, or your left hand can float up. Take a full breath in, lift your hips higher. Exhale to lower your right hip towards the ground. Maybe left hand reaches towards your extended leg. Inhale, breath, lift up. Fingertips can trace along with your body. Exhale, lower your hip to hover. Let's take two more. Inhale, breath, press into the earth to rise up. Exhale, lower. One more time. Inhale, breath, rise. And exhale to lower. All right, inhale, breath, lift your hips up, turn and pivot so you're back into a low runner's lunge, and then continue to turn to the right so you land in Skandasana. So from a wide-legged forward fold, bend into your right knee. So your left leg will stay straight. Optional, turn your left toes up if your hips are low. Otherwise, you can keep the foot planted. That'll be a little bit better for your knee. Take any variation that you want. So hands out, draped. You want to add in any twists or binds. You have a few moments here to just simply be. Maybe even close your eyes. All right. On your next exhale breath, you can release your hands towards the earth. Pick up your hips and turn and pivot yourself to the original top of your mat. Lower your left knee down and just take a monkey lunge. Inhale, breath, reach your arms up. Send your left hip forward. This should feel really, really nice. And then exhale, release your hands down. A little bit different. You can untuck your back toes if you'd like. Half splits. Send your hips back, turn your right toes up. You know, if that doesn't feel good, you can always slide your right heel a little bit further forward. I like to keep hips above that back knee so there's no pressure on the flexion of that joint. But if they need to come a little bit back, that's okay. Optional, keep a flat spine. Lengthen this out, or you can fold your body. Two more breaths. Feel the release into the back of your right leg. And then shift forward one more time, bending into your right knee. Tuck your back toes to lift your back knee. Three-legged dog, sweep your right foot back behind you. Bend into your right knee, stack into your hip. As you exhale, half pigeon. Take your right knee to your right wrist, right ankle to the left side of your mat. Lower your back knee down and you can untuck your toes. If you want to get deeper into the hip flexors, stay upright a little bit longer. You should feel this into the left hip flexor. If you want to get deeper into the right glute, folding will probably get you there. So just starting to lean forward. If at any point in any of our classes, half pigeon with the back leg straight puts a lot of pressure into your front or back knee, shift onto your right hip, your front hip, and just bend your back knee around to a comfortable angle and fold from that place. Okay, so wherever you've landed, just become aware of the sensations again. Maybe come back to your intention. Allow your intention to infuse your body with meaning as you start this day. To maybe infuse you with hope. whatever it is that you need for whatever is to come ahead. Let your skin soften in any place that you're pulling it tight around your eyes, eyebrows, maybe even the muscles of your jaw. Let yourself sink into this place of release. Walk your fingertips back up in towards your hips. A little bit different. Shift yourself over onto your front hips. You'll shift over to the right. Scoop your back leg around and behind. You can stay facing the top of your mat. And then double pigeon. You'll take your left leg and stack it over top of your right, kind of like I am Genie arms. If this isn't available for you, you can always take that shin out in front. So like you're taking a cross-legged variation, but instead of crossing at the ankles, you're going to just take the shins one in front of the other. You know, you can stay here upright, flexing into that left foot to make sure the knee is supported, or you're welcome to fold. You'll now get the sensation into the opposite hip, so you should feel this into your left hip. Wherever you've chosen to be in this pose, just make sure there's no pain, and that whatever depth you've gone to is a depth that serves you, rather than a depth you think you need to be in. It's a depth that your body wants to be in. Slow down your breath to create room for you in this moment. If you have folded over top of your thighs, you'll just gently start to walk your hands back up. All right, untangle your legs, plant your feet wide, and just wash your knees left and right. From windshield wipers, start to shift your feet over to either side and meet back into downward facing dog. So coming to tabletop, if you need any movement of the spine here, you can take that. Otherwise, picking your hips up and back. You walk your big toes together to touch. Inhale your left heel high. Exhale, step your left foot between your hands and lower your right knee down. Okay, half splits on this side. Center hips back. Left heel draws up towards the ceiling. You can always slide that heel a little further forward, either lengthening your spine or folding. Notice the sensation in the back of your left leg, whether it feels like a tight lengthening or a soft lengthening. And if it does feel tight, like you're pulling into this pose, you just soften into the back of that leg. Let your head hang heavy. Setting up for half pigeon on this side, bend into your front knee, walk your hands forward, three-legged dog. Slide your left foot up towards the sky, bend your knee, stack your hip. And then this time, left knee towards your left wrist and left ankle towards the right side of your mat. Take your time to come into your half pigeon, coming upright first, and then beginning to lower. And knowing that you can stay upright the whole time if this feels good, or you can lower for the majority of the time. Allow yourself to be within this bubble of your mat. So still those things that you left off of your mat at the start are still unavailable. And then what you need is really all that's available to you here. So you can let distractions go. You can let the past and the future sit in their respective places and just simply pause in this present moment. Take a couple of deep, nourishing breaths and just notice what it is to breathe.
Don't worry about time. Try not to focus on where you're going next, but to simply just be in this space. Gently, you can start to walk your hands back up in towards your body. Shift over to your front hip, last major hip pose of the class. You'll shift your back leg around and in front, and then cross your right shin over top of your left. Okay, don't worry if there's a big gap, as long as there's no pain in your right knee. You can always bridge that gap with your blocks, or just simply take that right shin out in front. It's like a wider cross-legged seat. You can stay upright, or you're welcome to begin to fold or just even tip slightly forward, looking for a sensation into your right hip. Even when we carve out this space of mornings to be with ourselves, it doesn't always go without some hiccups along the way. So you can honor any of those hiccups that showed up today, whether that was with your physical body, with your environment, maybe just with how you feel today, less energy or lots of energy, whatever that is, to just honor that you still showed up and that you stayed present. And when you haven't been present, you brought yourself back. And just honoring the journey rather than the destination. Take one more deep breath wherever you found yourself. And then you can start to come back up through center. If you folded, untangle your legs. You can say hi to Copper if you'd like. Walk your feet wide. Drop your knees to the left and over to the right. And then slowly start to lower yourself onto your back whenever you are ready. And so you can just lower down. It might feel nice to take a deep stretch, reaching your arms overhead and lengthening out through your body. Just like you're waking up for your day. Good morning stretch. If it feels better to curl in towards a tight ball, you can always try that as well. Knees into chest and just give yourself a nice big hug. I'm just gonna take a little bit of restoration for the legs because we did do a lot with the hips today. So on your own time, just making your way into waterfall pose, where your heels will land above your hips. Now, if you want to do this up a wall, that can feel nice, legs up a wall, or you are also welcome to either grab a pillow or a block, and you can always place that underneath your hips. So if you are gonna take that variation, you'll plant your feet, lift your hips up, and take your pillow underneath your sacrum, just like we did with supported bridge, and then you'll just take your feet up. So this is your lymphatic system that we are focusing on here, allowing your feet to be above your heart. Sometimes your lymph fluid pools into the bottoms of your feet, and so just raising them above allows the lymph fluid to start to get moving. Lymph fluid is also, it's really integrated with your immunity, and it doesn't have the valves like your circulatory system does to push it around. So sometimes just inverting is a nice way to shift the body, to get it moving, to just get the system starting to turn the wheels for your day. You might feel a little bit of tingling, and this is normal. As long as it's not painful, you're welcome to just stay here. If you want to also take this into your arms, you can always take your fingertips above your shoulders. Just embracing the opportunity to really be weightless or light. There might even be a slight sway of your body. Try not to fight that. Just allowing yourself to be in flux of this moment before you come into full stillness, into that full pause before your day begins outside of this practice. If you do have your arms up, you can gently release your hands down. Those of you that place a block underneath you, bend into your knees, and then one at a time place your feet onto your mat. And just pick your hips up, slowly, slowly moving so you feel the sensations releasing. Take your prop out from under, and then coming into Shavasana. Now, if you feel like you need twists or you need any final movement, just dropping knees left or right or happy baby, you can take that right now, or you can also just land in Shavasana if that's what you're feeling today. I'll leave this last pose up to each of you for your practice to just close off in a way that feels nourishing for your body. If you are taking a pose like twist, take about 5 breaths in each side, and then you can just switch over to the other side. There's no rush to come into your Shavasana. So just whenever you're ready, laying down on your back and finding a comfortable place to rest. So this week has been all about new beginnings. It's been about first times, maybe some repeated beginnings, but really just focusing on our ability to reset. And I think we overlook how powerful that is sometimes. Our ability to just let go of what was so that we can create room for what is and what will be. And so I hope that this morning's practice was a way for you to physically release past and lingering tension, but also to carve out some space in your own mind to just let go of what didn't serve you yesterday and what will probably continue to not serve you today. I'll leave you in Shavasana for a couple moments in silence on my end and stillness so that you can sit with your thoughts, that this time is just for you. And I'll bring you out of this so we can all close off together at 9. If you are feeling completely settled into the Shavasana, you're welcome to stay as you are. If it's a personal preference to close off in seated, that's also an option. So I'll give you the next minute or so just to move your body to bring yourself to seated, or the next minute to just stay in Shavasana and linger here a little longer. When you do come to seated, those of you that have chosen to move, you can just land your hands at heart center and pause there. And we're going to close off our practice with gratitude, which is also a really beautiful way to shift and start fresh. And finding 3 things that you're grateful for, but more importantly, finding one of those things that is about you. You can find 2 things about outside people, places, things, experiences, but make one of those something about yourself. That you're grateful for your gentle heart, your courage, your faith, your ability to withstand. So whatever it is, just find something about yourself that you're grateful for. Thank you for spending your morning with me. I truly am honored to have so many of you join me in this journey this month. We've already made it through 1 week together, so amazing. Have a wonderful rest of your day and weekend, and I look forward to connecting with you all next week. From the bottom of my heart. Namaste. All right. I did post a podcast if anyone's interested or really likes Brene Brown. It's one of my favorites from her. So that is up on the challenge page. You're welcome to find that. It's all about first times. She calls them FFTs. And yeah, I'll be adding in some more stuff on the weekend for our next intention for the week. But hopefully hips are feeling good. Yeah. Okay, you guys, have a wonderful day. I'll stay on if you have any questions. Bye, Sam. See you, Shauna. Bye, Dana. Hip shaking. Yep.